Hey there, everyone, and thanks for joining us for Making Sales Social Live, coming to you from the Social Sales Link virtual studios. I'm Bob Woods. Bryn Tillman is off, but Stan Robinson Jr. is here. What's happening, Stan?
Hey, Bob, all is well.
Excellent, excellent. Good to hear. So, if you've joined us for the past couple of weeks, we've been discussing at length, as we always do, about how sales leaders can help their teams be the best they can be and perform at their highest and best levels. So, up until now, we've concentrated on how sales leaders must model the behavior that they want to see. So, in the most recent past, we've talked about using Sales Navigator and the different types of sales campaigns that can be used on LinkedIn, and how sales leadership can support their teams and even model those strategies themselves. It's the modeling, people. It's the modeling. So, today we're going to take a step back, or we're going to kind of shift back a little bit and discuss using LinkedIn and AI in a broader sense, and then model those behaviors for sales teams. As a sales leader, if you're not active on LinkedIn by sharing content, engaging with others, building your network, guess what? Your team ain't going to do it either. Your activity as a sales leader sets the tone for what's expected and what's possible, which is really important, Stan.
Yes, exactly. So you nailed it because the sales team will look to their leader to set the pace, to set the example for what they should be doing. And that can include using LinkedIn for search, using LinkedIn for research, using LinkedIn as a sales leader. And if you're using a tool like a sales navigator, regularly doing things like saving accounts and leads that are of interest. So just keep in mind that if you're a sales leader, eyes are on you as far as not just giving directives as far as what your team members should be doing, but leading by example.
Yep, absolutely. You are in the spotlight if you're a sales leader. So before we get rolling, we have a free ebook for this session. It's called LinkedIn and AI for Sales Leaders. Imagine that title. Everything that we talk about today is also in this ebook. If you're watching us live right now, we have a QR code up at the upper right, as well as the URL in the lower left for it. If you're joining us on the podcast for the rebroadcast or repodcast, whatever you want to call it, it's at socialsaleslink.com/sales leaders, socialsaleslink.com/sales leaders. So with that, Stan, let's talk about leading by example.
Yep. So that was the first one that we kind of dove into. But just to give a couple of examples, if a sales team is pursuing specific accounts and they're on the list of, say, top 10 accounts, and every week, or at least on a monthly basis, sales leaders are usually reviewing these accounts with their sales teams and making suggestions. So, from the standpoint of a sales leader, you want to be using LinkedIn, or if you have Sales Navigator, using that yourself to get more business intelligence about the accounts that are of interest, identifying elements where you can bring value to those particular accounts rather than simply talking about your product, but using these tools to learn more about the accounts and the individuals that are of interest to you. So sales managers need to be using these tools not just to review the analytics and the reports about what their team is doing, but also to be finding information about the leads and accounts that are of interest, doing research on those leads and accounts, connecting themselves, particularly with the top tier leads and accounts, because there are times when, as a sales leader, you may be able to add to the conversation by interacting with your peers at target accounts that perhaps your reps may not have as easy access to. So those are a couple examples of, no pun intended, how sales leaders should be leading by example.
Yeah, and I mean it really is all about putting as a sales leader, putting yourselves in the shoes of your sales reps and, managing, I don't want to say managing by doing, but definitely as you just said, setting an example for them by modeling the behaviors that they should be undertaking. So I think that that's just absolutely pitch perfect. So number two, we're going to talk a little bit about aligning LinkedIn and AI activity specifically with sales outcomes. So now we're taking that next step into what's going to be expected as a result of all of these actions that sales forces will be modeling and carrying out and doing as well. So as a sales leader, you really need to make it clear how LinkedIn and AI usage supports sales goals. So whether it's building pipeline, which Stan covered that very well in terms of what needs to happen to really build pipeline, and that comes from Sales Navigator. If you don't have Sales Navigator, it does come from using the free or the premium LinkedIn.com as well. Nurturing relationships is a big one, and that one really comes from not only LinkedIn, but also AI, because AI can help you with the ideation for creating content and creating messages that will help you nurture those relationships. So again, it's about getting ideas. It's not necessarily about AI doing the work for you, because everyone knows when they're reading AI. So definitely don't do it like that. It can help you shorten sales cycles. We always use oh God, now I'm blanking on it, Stan. Sales cycles. The phrase that we use for that.
Just in terms of
Shortening and lengthening.
yes. So outreach and
Yeah.
outcome. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And said,
So yeah. Yeah. So
we'll come back to it when both of us remember.
yeah, oh my God. Oh my God. Shorten your sales outreach to increase your sales outcomes. That's really close to it.
Yeah.
That's really close to the phrase that Bryn likes to use, and she likes to use it because it's absolutely true. So as you concentrate more on these relationships, you're actually likely going to be bringing these sales to closes faster, because you're showing that you care about what they want. You're listening, actively listening to them. You have content to support that you want with them, and so with that, you're building trust not only with that initial stakeholder that you have within the company, but hopefully you're socially surrounding the other people who are involved in the purchasing process and helping them out as well. So again, all of this can and does help shorten sales cycles. And of course, the bigger one with AI is helping with writing content and writing messages. We've already touched on that a little bit, but you just want to make sure that you're not copying and pasting out of AI. That's probably the biggest thing. Make sure it sounds like you. Make sure it's not salesy in nature, whether you're talking about content or direct messages. You are always leading with value, something that is valuable to them. So, keep all that in mind, because you don't want to become that stereotypical finger snapping salesperson. So, when your team does see how these activities rather tie directly to outcomes, they'll be more invested in showing up consistently, and then they could be measured, and then they'll be more successful, then they'll be measured, and it's all just a continuing cycle, Stan.
Yep, and I think what we were looking for was slow down your outreach to speed up your income.
Your outcome and income, yeah.
Your
Yep,
outcome.
absolutely. Outcome and income follows from that. Absolutely.
Yes. So next, it's funny, we've been touching on number three, which is integrating LinkedIn into the sales process, just as a matter of course. So when you're in your sales time, one of the things that you should be doing automatically, not sporadically, is looking up your target accounts and prospects on LinkedIn. And the good news is that people can see when you look at their profile, even if you don't otherwise engage with them. So they in turn may look back at your profile. And when they do that, it's like an open invitation for you to send them an invitation to connect. Because by the very fact that they've looked at your profile, you're now a known quantity to them. And they're more likely to accept your invitation to connect. So, by the way, when they do accept your invitation to connect, and this should be part of your sales process as well, make it a habit to follow up with a welcome message. Now, that doesn't mean thanks for connecting and here's the product that I have to sell to you. But no, just a welcome message. Thanks for connecting. Look forward to staying in touch and providing value to each other, something along those lines. Uh,
Yep.
the point being, though, at each stage of the sales process, you want to use LinkedIn as an automatic part of the process, so to speak. Not something where you use it for one account, but ignore LinkedIn for another account. You just always want to be thinking about how you can use LinkedIn as part of each stage of the sales process.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm going to yes and something that that Stan said in that welcome message. If you want to take things just a little bit farther, you can say something like and I'm trying to come up with a specific example, but let's just say you have an ebook that is truly educational. It's not sales forward. It's not trying to sell somebody something. There are true educational tidbits, strategies, whatever's in there. You can say everything that Stan said, and then afterward, and then after that little part, you say, if you're interested, I have an ebook on X topic. I think you'd get a lot out of it. Let me know if you're interested, and I'll send you the link to download it. So don't provide the link initially. Get permission to share the link because if you just throw the link out there without asking permission, it's going to seem like spam. Even though you don't intend it to be spam, it's going to be seen by the other person very likely as spam. So that's a way to like take things a little bit farther and yet provide that genuine value, that genuine education that the person on the other end will hopefully really learn something from. And then by that, you become more of an expert in their minds. And hopefully, you can get sales conversations started as a result of that.
Yep, exactly. And I see Paul Smith has a question here. Um, Paul, can you just expand on it when you say people are still against it? Is the it LinkedIn or is the it
A-
engaging with you on
Yeah.
LinkedIn?
Or is
Um,
it AI
yeah,
or
exactly. Yeah. So if
yeah,
you
because we're unable to 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 track these in absolute real time because it's just me and Stan today. So we're a little behind the eight ball in terms of that. But I think in the meantime, while we're waiting for Paul to answer our or to give us some clarification there, I'm going to go on to number four, which is setting clear and measurable KPIs that drive the right behaviors. So now we've got all this stuff in our mind, and it's all really good stuff. If you don't have the numbers that you want people to hit and knowing that they can be measured and and definitely not like sky high pie in the sky numbers or whatever, make sure that these are numbers that they can actually hit. You really need to define those activity based metrics. They need to focus on building relationships and creating conversations. So with your LinkedIn KPIs, those are probably the two biggest things that you want to track. you want to attract directly with LinkedIn, and then at that point you can then track conversions and all that other types of things. So a couple of examples of things you may want to track include weekly targeted connection requests, how many you send out, strategic comments on buyer and influencer content, again, how many that you've made, sending personalized value-based direct messages. So again, this is not here's what we sell, you want to buy, that type of stuff. It's really value-based and personalized as well. And then referral introductions requested and received. So in other words, if you're out there asking for referrals, and we have strategies, especially that I did we cover those last week? If we didn't, we've done other podcasts on it and things like that. So definitely track those as well, because all these KPIs encourage consistency and reward the behaviors that lead to that pipeline growth. Because, yeah, we do need to sell. So we do need to have pipeline growth as well. And you, as the sales leader, have to set these. You can't let these be a bottom up kind of thing. You can't let the sales reps set them themselves. You have to set them. Obviously, you can adjust as things go along, especially as you get feedback from your sales reps who are out there actually doing this stuff, going, this is like way too much, or oh my God, I blew this away. Definitely adjust as you go along, but you have to set those KPI numbers, you as the sales leader.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. So the important thing is to begin to collect the data that you can use to figure out what's working and what's not working so that you can tweak these processes based on actual data and not a gut feeling as far as what might be working.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So before we get to number 5, I just want to remind everyone of the free ebook, LinkedIn and AI for Sales Leaders. It's at socialsaleslink.com/sales leaders. And we're going to show that again right here. So actually, before we get to that, Paul has come back with here, let me captions. We need to get back to captions that aren't. Oh, it's in chat, not captions. Okay, here we go. So he says what he's talking about is the people on LinkedIn, they are somewhat afraid to trust what you're writing. What I've found is if I use the same marketing AI post, it gradually grabs more viewers. I'm assuming due to familiarity. I've always had a problem saying that word. So, what do you think about that, Stan?
Yeah, it's one where I need to know more, but the thing to think about when it comes to sharing content is making sure that it's of value to your target audience and that it's not self-serving. So you put their hat on. If, for example, you're reaching out to VPs of sales, what are they interested in? So forget about your product or service for the moment and put on your VP of sales hat. They're interested in pipeline, they're interested in revenue. If they're using tools like Sales Navigator, they're interested in getting an ROI from these tools and using these tools to accelerate sales. So one thing is to make sure that the content that you're posting is helping them do their job more effectively. The other thing that you can do when it comes to credibility is find curated content. Curated, just a fancy word of saying other people's content that is relevant for your audience, and then share that with your audience with a brief explanation as far as why you're sharing it with them.
Yep.
So it is leveraging the credibility of industry influencers and other people who are highly regarded in your industry to provide content that's of value along with your take on the content.
So Mark Crosby just has a interesting one, and I don't mean that negatively, but it's interesting. Mark says, I recently heard that sales reps should wait 60 days after connecting before engaging with them.
With them, and
I don't like that. That is, I would want to know where that comes from, because I would come back and tell that person that we do not agree with that. You really need to do what I have called in the past is pinging on someone's radar. The more that you ping on their radar, but not too much, obviously, you don't want to ping too much, but provide enough pings with like content, with with the offered DM content, with a profile view, with a comment on someone's content that they have shared. Those are the types of things to do. I would not wait 60 days, because you will be completely out of mind at that point. You want to keep that radar pinging, so that you are literally on their radar, in terms of, if not top of mind, someone go, "Oh yeah, that's right, that person exists." And I'm glad, hopefully they'll say, "I'm glad that they wrote me," or whatever. But that's a really good question, and I would disagree with that, Stan.
Yeah, agreed. There are other contexts where that could apply, but as soon as you say 60 days after connecting, that's way too long after you've connected with someone. Now, if you're connected with someone, you've had a sales conversation with them, they've told you, no, we're not ready for your solution, then maybe putting them in your tickler to get back to them in 60 days so you're not hounding them. I could see it in that context, but not within the context of you find someone, you reach out to connect with them, they accept your invitation to connect, and then you wait 60 days before you follow up with them. As Bob mentioned, that's too long.
Yep. Okay, very good. So
So,
let's keep the ball rolling with number 5, Stan. Which this one's a personal favorite of of mine. It's it's definitely not as strategy driven, just as kind of fun. It can be fun.
yeah, it's more people driven, which is
Yes,
celebrating LinkedIn wins publicly.
publicly.
So some of you may have heard the adage, criticize in private, praise people in public. And generally speaking, that is a good idea. And when you're trying to incentivize the right behavior in terms of using LinkedIn as a fundamental part of your sales process, when people are doing that and then they have some results that they can talk about, let everybody know about it. Put a spotlight on them, because in addition to money, most salespeople do like recognition. And it doesn't have to be a closed deal. If you're trying to encourage people to get into the habit of using LinkedIn, something you could highlight is simply someone connecting with a chief operations officer at a whatever, at a large target company, that if you land this account, it's going to be major. So just the fact that this person's been able to connect with a C-suite person at that account is a win. So the point being that don't wait until people have closed sales that were started or influenced by their LinkedIn activity to recognize them publicly. Recognize them for the little steps along the way that lead to the outcomes that you want. Bob, any other thoughts just on that?
Yeah. So along those lines, celebrating wins publicly can not only be just recognition, you can actually have some real proverbial skin in the game too, in terms of like potential prizes and things like that. Several years ago, I was part of a LinkedIn social selling rollout for a company, and this company went nuts. I got to tell you, this company went absolutely nuts. It gave away several things that were truly valuable. The one that always sticks out in my mind, and this is like 2017, 2018, I think. So iPhones are like really ubiquitous now, along with smartphones in general. Back then, not quite as much. This company was giving away iPhones to its people. Yeah. So I mean, you don't need to go that far, especially with the way iPhones work. prices and smartphone prices are in general anymore. I probably wouldn't go that far anymore, but you can tie some really big wins or establish some really good KPIs that would be valuable to your company and give something real for them, like $100 gift card towards a steakhouse or something like that. I mean, really do some good things, because as people compete for it, hopefully they will see the benefits in their numbers just simply by competing for it. And then that reinforces, hey, this stuff really does work. So that is a really good way to celebrate wins publicly and with cash or rewards or something like that, depending on what, if anything, you have set up within your company with that.
Yep.
So
Totally.
with that one in mind, we are going to go on to number 6, which is providing tools, training, real-time coaching, because most salespeople haven't been trained to use LinkedIn effectively. That's just a fact of life. Most people looked at LinkedIn and it's like, yeah, I got my last job from LinkedIn, or oh my God, I've got to redo my resume for LinkedIn, which as salespeople, your profile is not a resume. Your profile is a resource. We have talked that one to death in previous episodes. So you got to shift that as well. So what do you do as a sales as a sales leader? You offer those short trainings. You offer redoing their profiles so that they are much more resource driven rather than resume driven, because a potential customer visiting a salesperson's profile doesn't want to hear how they've been a Diamond Club member for 5 years running, or, that type of stuff. That looks great on a resume. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that stuff doesn't belong on LinkedIn in general. It's just when you're using LinkedIn specifically to sell and to get your product or solution out there, you really need to become a resource. And that is most definitely the case with your profile as well. So you can also offer them swipe files, templated AI prompts that will give them the output that they really need to have, as well as messaging frameworks for those direct messages and instant messages, or whatever you want to call them. And then also we recommend teach them the basic prompting. We have our CRISP for AI prompting, our Crispy framework. Did I say network or framework? Crispy framework for AI prompting. That's what happens when I start going too fast, because I get too excited. We have a book out there. We can also train on that as well. But, definitely train them how to do it, because otherwise they will go down. Remember when the internet first came out and people went down rabbit holes with, just with clicking stuff like that? It's 1,000 times worse with AI if you don't have a reason why you're using it. And that's one of the big things about AI prompting, is that you are telling it, here is what I need, here is why I need to use you. And that's the case with any prompting framework, not just Crispy.
Yep.
What do you
So
think?
true. So true. And I'll just double click on what Bob mentioned about the coaching. Is the coaching by leaders, individual one-on-one or small group coaching, where you're looking at specific accounts that you may be pursuing and talking through on an individual basis how people should be approaching it. That's how your sales team will learn how to do things, with that individual attention. So it's not a one-time training, it's an ongoing process of, say, monthly coaching, where they get to apply what they've learned. And that's how things stick.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of ongoing and making things stick, something that I forgot about is you could, for example, hold a LinkedIn Power Hour every month, every other week, however you want to do it. This is where the team gets together in real time with live support and feedback, when they're connecting, when they're engaging, when they're prospecting, when they're writing content, whatever. I mean, to really get together, share tips, monitor other people. Sometimes someone may be doing something wrong, and it's like, no, don't do that, do this instead. That's what those power hours are for. Or you can do an what I'm calling an AI coffee clutch. I don't know where I came up with that from, where the team really gets together and shares AI prompts, shares strategies, all the things that they've been using that have been successful so that you're sharing the wealth. So especially if someone is like, I really don't know about this LinkedIn or about this AI stuff. If they're together with other people in the coffee clash, not only are they learning, they're also gaining confidence in using AI because they're seeing their coworkers use it as well.
Yep. Good deal. And
So with that, Dan, let's do our last one, and then we are running a little over, so we'll need to bring it over at that point.
yes, indeed. So lastly, encourage a value first culture on your team, which is the opposite of pitching and leading with pricing. So if you encourage your team to have a value first mentality, that comes back to putting on the hat of your target audience and thinking about what brings value to them, what helps them look good, what helps them be more effective. Bob always talks about don't talk about how you help people, just help them. And as he mentioned, you can do that starting with your profile by including information that is helpful for your target audience. It also applies when you're commenting on other people's posts, which raises your visibility, raises the visibility of the post with the LinkedIn algorithm when you add a substantive comment. And when you add a comment that adds value, that adds something to the discussion, that does not mention your product, but it's directly relevant to whatever the post is about, and it extends the conversation positively, that will put you in a good light and position you as the resource that Bob was talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And speaking of resources, going to talk about this one last time. Our free guide to what the heck, LinkedIn and AI for sales leaders. That's what it's called. I was getting confused with last week's one, which that one was really good as well. That's at socialsaleslink.com/sales campaigns, socialsaleslink.com/sales campaigns. So with that, Stan, I think we're going to wrap things up.
Yep, sounds good. And the that one is for last week's,
Oh,
whereas
sales campaigns. That's right. Sales leaders. Sales leaders.
yeah,
Thank you for everything else is definitely where it's supposed to be. And when we include this in show notes, it will also be socialsaleslink.com/sales leaders. So with that, thanks for catching that, Stan. And whether you've been with us live or recorded via our podcast, thanks for joining us for this episode of Making Sales Social Live. We do these every week, so feel free to join us. Now, if you're listening to us on our podcast and you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and hit that subscribe or follow button. And we like likes and comments as well. So, besides these lives, we also interview leaders and experts in sales, marketing, business, and many more areas. So, be sure to catch those other episodes as well. Socialsaleslink.com/podcast is where you want to go for more information. And when you are out and about this week and every week, be sure you're making your sales
social.
Thanks, everybody. We appreciate you joining us. Have a good week. We'll see you back here next week.